Not all cars are designed to last. Some will make you regret ever signing those documents, drain your bank account, and fail when you least expect it. And now we're revealing the top 9 car manufacturers that might leave you stranded, anxious, and bankrupt. A brand that once stood for excellence but has now collapsed due to many recalls and expensive failures is particularly startling. I promise you should view this first if you want to purchase shortly. Let's get started. Land Rover. Land Rover seems to be the pinnacle of luxury SUVs at first impression. Quality features and a sleek style that I created. However, if you look more closely, the narrative quickly changes. Land Rovers are rife with issues behind all that glitz. Air suspensions suddenly collapse, electrical systems malfunction often, and every little correction entails an eye-popping repair expense. Furthermore, these problems are not uncommon. They are widespread. Purchasing a Land Rover essentially entails committing to costly, regular maintenance. It's common knowledge that dependability and quality go hand in hand. However, Land Rover demonstrates that's not always the case. It is difficult for these devices to reach 150,000 miles without experiencing significant issues. When Tata took control in 2008, some people believed that things would improve. They didn't. The same old problems persisted. Furthermore, it goes beyond the fixes. It has a horrible resale value. A cheap SUV from Toyota or Honda loses value more quickly than a Land Rover and is just 5 or 6 years old. The headache is something that no one desires. Additionally, routine maintenance is quite costly. Just the tires and brakes should cost around $6,000, and that's for standard maintenance. Add in sporadic software errors, outrageous rates of theft, and the ongoing fear that something may malfunction at the most inconvenient moment. Notwithstanding its high price tag, Land Rover has one of the lowest dependability ratings. To be honest, you should stay away from this brand unless you like spending a lot of money and having to deal with constant issues. Jaguar's elegant lines and opulent exterior may entice you, but the harsh truth lies underneath. When you start driving these cars on a regular basis, they become very unreliable despite their attractive exterior. Owning a Jaguar becomes a costly and difficult experience due to frequent engine issues, malfunctioning electronics, and erratic infotainment systems. Significant criticisms have been made about even the F-Pace and XD models, which were meant to update the brand. Owners struggle with anything from dead batteries and malfunctioning chairs to overheated motors. Additionally, things will break when they do. The cost of repairs is high. The average cost of maintaining a Jaguar is far more than the industry average, and that's before you factor in unplanned repairs. The fact that Jaguar's interior designs haven't evolved much since 2014 doesn't help either. A more recent model seems almost 10 years behind its rivals when you sit inside it. Many owners regret their purchase because of lengthy wait periods, inadequate communication, and a severe lack of support. Keeping a Jaguar on the road is a full-time, expensive commitment, so you may want to reconsider purchasing one for the style points. Fiat seems to be the ideal city vehicle brand at first appearance since it is compact, fashionable, and reasonably priced. But as soon as the allure wears off, the truth sets in. Because of all the issues with these vehicles, owning one may easily go from being a fun concept to a complete nightmare. Infinite electrical problems, poor engines that deteriorate with time, and frequent transmission breakdowns are just the beginning. Scores for reliability, they are among the worst in the whole automotive sector. Even the Fiat 500, which was meant to bring the brand back to life in the United States, failed. Owners claim anything from temperature control systems that entirely cease functioning to random stalls and dashboard warning lights that never go away. When do you need parts? I wish you luck. Either they are very costly or you have to wait weeks for simple parts to arrive. And the issues don't end there. Fiat has a very low resale value. These cars lose value more quickly than you may think after just a few years. It is very hard to sell a car you pay a lot of money for without suffering a significant loss if it turns out to be worth just a small portion of its original cost. Fiat has had difficulty maintaining a presence in the US market, which is understandable. Ownership on a daily basis is also not much better. High repair costs, tedious warranty claims, and frequent visits to the shop are all commonplace. I promise you that Fiat isn't the best option if you're considering cutting costs by going small. There are several more tiny cars that are reliable without breaking the bank or taking up too much of your time. Chrysler. Despite Chrysler's lengthy history in the American auto industry, history does not necessarily equate to advancement. Chrysler cars, which were once renowned for their daring styling, are now often more annoying than motivating. Many of their models have poor build quality, cheap feel materials, and flimsy interiors. It seems that even basic items like dashboard controls and door panels are only one step away from breaking down. It's not simply poor materials either. For years, the actual manufacturing process has been a complete disaster. Chrysler has seen many ownership changes, including Cerberus, Fiat, Daimler-Benz, and currently Stellantis. However, the problems with quality never seem to go away. Issues with assembly. Customers now own cars that just don't hold up over time due to hurried development, poor fit, and poor finish. The brand has also been plagued by frequent recalls. Chrysler owners have had to cope with a number of severe safety issues, ranging from engine stalling to malfunctioning gear shifters that result in rollaways. Also, repairs are not inexpensive. Owners often complain about sluggish, ineffective warranty support when anything does go wrong, and annual maintenance expenditures are far higher than the industry norm. Dealerships can place the responsibility on consumers rather than promptly resolving issues, which exacerbates the unpleasant repair process. Chrysler is generally not a brand to trust if you're searching for a reliable, stress-free car. Owning one might seem like a losing lottery due to its poor build quality, expensive maintenance costs, and frequent recalls. Although General Motors has been a part of the history of American cars for more than a century, quality is not necessarily correlated with longevity. It is impossible to overlook GM's lengthy history of significant quality failures, despite its well-known brands and stellar reputation. Inconsistent paint jobs, cheap interior materials, and weak controls are just a few examples. Drive shaft vibrations and early corrosion problems have plagued even some of its best-selling models, like as the Silverado, leaving owners unhappy. But it goes beyond superficial imperfections. The mechanical issues at GM are widespread. Once praised for its innovation, its North Star engine ended up being a nightmare because of disastrous head gasket failures brought on by inadequate head bolts. Failures of the transmission control module, which impact hundreds of thousands of cars, are yet another major annoyance. Rather than taking proactive measures to address these problems, GM often lets consumers pay for them, requiring them to make expensive repairs they never anticipated. For years, GM has been beset by recalls. The most significant of them was the notorious 2014 ignition switch fiasco, which resulted in the recall of millions of vehicles, but only after court pressure. Additionally, customer service hasn't improved all that much. There are several complaints about subpar repair work, neglected warranty claims, and excruciatingly sluggish response times. The decline in the ownership experience is startling for a business with such a long history. GM may not be the best option if you want a vehicle that will endure without frequent problems. Many consumers are beginning to go elsewhere, which is not surprising given the significant technical problems, poor quality, and some of the worst customer service in the business. Nissan used to provide some of the most dependable and entertaining vehicles available. Strong engineering and longevity were commended for models such as the Maxima and Altima. However, things began to change, and not in a good way, after the merger with Renault. Reliability vanished, quality plummeted, and the brand's reputation hasn't returned. Nissan's early adoption of CVT gearboxes was one of its worst mistakes. They made a mess rather than setting the standard for innovation in the market. These CVTs have a bad reputation, infamous for breaking down too soon, sometimes before 100,000 miles, and for the expensive repairs that follow, which often range from $4,000 to $5,000. Because of their constant transmission issues and breakdowns, popular models like the Sentra and Pathfinder have turned into owners' nightmares. It's not the end of the problem. Serious design defects in Nissan engines may result in significant engine damage long before the vehicle should be exhibiting any problems, ranging from high oil consumption to leaky seals. Furthermore, Nissan's many recalls, antiquated infotainment systems, and low-quality inside materials make ownership seem antiquated, even if the engine and gearbox are still functional. Nissan's image is also being damaged by its fuel efficiency, which was previously a source of pride. Large vehicles like the Armada get far lower mileage in real-world driving than claimed, requiring owners to make expensive and repeated trips to the gas pump. Now when the chances are against you, purchasing a Nissan seems less like a wise choice and more like throwing your hard-earned cash on the dice. Volvo has established a solid reputation for safety, but the results are much less encouraging when it comes to long-term dependability. Even while Volvo cars are svelte, comfy, and project a high-end image, daily life with one may be far more annoying than most purchasers anticipate. Electrical problems have become more prevalent, particularly with some of their best-selling models such as the XC40, XC60, and XC90. Even recently released models have had difficulty overcoming their dependability issues. Owners have complained of complex electrical issues that need frequent visits to the dealership, unexpected battery depletion, and abrupt loss of important functions. Furthermore, repairing a problem is not inexpensive. The labor and parts prices are far more than usual, and waiting times for replacements might go for weeks, particularly when it comes to Volvo's specialty components. Serious concerns have also been highlighted by brake system failures. A risky software flaw that might stop the brake assist system from turning on when it's required was discovered during a recent recall. A major safety hazard, particularly from a company that is renowned for safeguarding its drivers. Additionally, maintenance expenses are not negligible. Volvos are a costly long-term investment since, on average, owners pay far more over a 10-year period than owners of more dependable models. Many Coopers seem to be the ideal combination of sporty handling and engaging styling at first look. They have that eccentric appeal that draws attention wherever you go, and they're fashionable and agile. However, when the first excitement fades, the reality of owning a Mini begins to set in. It's not beautiful either. These vehicles are full of delicate components, overly complex engineering, and a lengthy number of problems that manifest far earlier than they ought to. Transmission failures, power steering leaks, and water pump catastrophes are common issues and are not isolated incidents. Even the latest versions, which were meant to correct previous errors, still have issues with basic durability, and the cost of repairs is high when anything goes wrong. The cost of parts is high, professional technicians are often required, and repairs typically entail lengthy wait times and substantial bills. Without even approaching the dependability of luxury brands, it seems like you're paying premium brand rates. Nor does resale value provide any consolation. Owners of Minis are often left with a vehicle that is worth much less than what they bought for and still need expensive maintenance since they degrade more quickly than many of their rivals. What once seemed to be a fashionable and enjoyable decision soon turns into a financial disaster. It's easy to regret the choice, incur costly maintenance, have unending problems, and be frustrated all the time unless you're prepared to treat your Mini like a weekend toy rather than a daily vehicle. Prevent these names if you want to prevent the regret. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons and forward this video to anybody considering a new vehicle.